Squats are an incredible exercise for building the lower body, but they're not so incredible if all you feel is your back, your knee, and your hip flexors doing the work. And this is especially true if you're someone who's got a massive arch while you're doing a squat. So what do? Do I just bend my back the other way and hope for the best? No. Instead, you have to look at the real reason why your back is arching when you're squatting, why that's counterproductive, and most importantly, what you can do to improve that back arch. And the answer is improving mobility in an area that you never would have guessed. What the heck? I thought that arching my back in a squat was totally normal. Well, if you read this study right here, they demonstrated that as soon as a bar goes on your back, the lumbar spine flexes or rounds. That means that if you're arching your back, it's actually going against the natural way that your body wants to move when squatting. Now here's the crazy thing about this paper. This article looked at the back squat, which is the hingiest version of squats, or looked at another way, the squat where your torso is the least vertical. Contrast that with a front squat where your torso is way more upright. Yet despite this, the lumbar spine still rounds, albeit not noticeably to the naked eye. Does that mean that we should just round our backs to our heart's content? No. Even though research demonstrates that spinal flexion or rounding is safe, we don't have much evidence showing how this manifests under higher loads. So then what's the answer? The answer is we have to look at what else occurs when your back arches during a squat. Most people are focused on the back only, but what you didn't notice is what your rib cage and your pelvis is doing. In fact, there are 3 things that happen along with an arched back during squats. When the back arches, I'm also getting the center of mass shifting forward. The ribs are flaring out, which pushes the abdominal contents more forward, and the pelvis tilts anteriorly. All of these factors increase internal rotation, which allows us to put force into the ground. And I need that to some extent as I lower, because it acts as a braking mechanism within our bodies, slowing the descent during a squat. But if I'm internally rotating too much, I might not be able to go as low because I'm putting too much force in the ground, and that can overload various structures within the body. And this is why flexing the back doesn't work. It doesn't change the rib position, where the abdominal contents are located, and it doesn't really do any difference in the pelvis because we're not getting any motion changes there. It's all, as the great philosopher Mike Tyson once said, spinal. Trust me on this, folks. I was the person who coached lumbar flexion during squats, and that led to just as many problems as arching the back. Instead, I found a better way. What is that better way? We have to utilize a different bracing strategy that allows us to shift the abdominal contents backward, bring the rib cage slightly down and make it smaller. Most people crunch it, we don't want that. And allow us to shift the center of mass backwards so we're not placing as much load through undesirable areas. This type of brace is what I affectionately call a stack. And I'm going to show you how to do that next. We're going to use 2 different exercises to encourage the stack during squatting. If you're doing a back squat or you're a beginner to squatting in general, we're going to start with a reaching box squat. If you're doing a squat that's more vertical, think front squats, think Zercher squats, goblet squats, we're going to do a reaching ramp squat. First, the reaching box squat. We're going to start this with an isometric or holding the position. Here are the keys. I'm going to have Chris start just hovering over the box. He's going to want to look out to the horizon, soft knees, just like that. From here, he's going to take a silent inhale through the nose. Exhale, he's going to reach the plate forward, and as he does that, you want the hips to go backwards, just like that. Now from there, maintaining this hinged posture, he's going to continue to reach, drop down slightly, and if he's doing it right about there, you're going to hold that position, breathe it out. He's going to feel the back of his legs working, so glutes, hamstrings, continue to reach, silent in through the nose, nice long exhale through the mouth. You're going to do this for 3 to 5 sets of 5 breaths. Once you hit the 5th breath, you're then going to come on back up. Now there are a lot of ways that people will screw this up. The first one is they won't be looking to the horizon. Instead, they'll look down. That's going to cause rounding in the back, which is going to limit your ability to hinge backwards. You want to make sure you're looking to the horizon. Conversely, another issue that people will have is when they're doing this, as they reach and hinge backwards, they'll end up keeping the head too far tipped up. You want this to be just a glance at the eyes. You don't want this particular head position. The next screw up is during the breathing sequence. What can oftentimes happen is you'll have people who will inhale way too loudly through the nose, or they might do so through the mouth. Those are both gonna increase the ribs flaring. We don't want that. Conversely, if the exhale is too forceful, you'll end up seeing rounding as the person reaches forward. We don't want that. So we want to make sure that it's a soft, slow exhale as you go. The next issue happens during the hinge portion. A lot of times when people are performing the initial hinge, so Chris is going to have his soft knees, he's going to get that reaching forward. You'll often see the knees go straight, just like that. You see the knees drift backwards or they start to straighten out. That means that they're hyperextending the knees. That's increasing glute activity. That's going to limit how far you can push the hips back. You're going to end up arching. We don't want that. So the solution for this is to make sure the knees stay soft. And then as Chris does this initial hinge, he's going to maintain that knee position. Now, if you've worked through the holds and they're getting easy, we can then progress this to a dynamic version. Here's what I'm going to have Chris do. I'm going to have him do the exact same movements. So we're going to go eyes to the horizon, soft knees, silent nasal inhale, exhale, reach forward, hips back. And I'm going to simply have Chris rep it out. On the inhale, he's going to lower and tap the box. Exhale, come back up, not locking out all the way. Inhale down, exhale up. You want to make sure that you're reaching the entire time as you're doing this, because a lot of times people will lose the reach and they'll end up arching the back, which is going to not get you the changes that you want with the rib flare. Next is going to be the reaching ramp squat. And the cues are going to be quite similar to the reaching box squat, except one difference. We'll go through the checklist. Eyes are going to look to the horizon, soft knees at the start, but instead of getting that initial hinge, Chris is going to silently breathe in through the nose. On the exhale, he's going to reach the plate forward and his body is going to move relatively backwards. Now from here, you don't want to sit back, you want to drop straight down. So I want Chris to imagine that he's in a phone booth. He's going to push the knees forward, drop the butt straight down, and continue to reach, holding that position and breathing. Now, you'll notice here that Chris does have a little bit of an arch in his back, more so than I would like with this variation. That can be fixed by reaching a little bit lower like that, and you'll see that that goes away just like so. Hold that position and breathe. You're going to do that one for about 3 to 5 sets, 5 breaths, silent in through the nose, nice, long, slow exhale through the mouth. Here are some of the ways people will screw up that exercise. First, we'll be arching the back during the reach. A lot of times this will happen when the plate is too high up. You can see Chris has a big, deep back arch. Just like we fixed when we were demoing it initially, we'll have Chris reach a little lower, a little longer, and that will reduce that. Another thing that will happen during this specific variation is the hips may translate or move too far forward. So what can happen is as Chris is doing this, he shoots the knees way forward and the hips go forward. We don't want that. So all we want to do is just say, hey, Chris, go ahead and sit back a little bit, reach down towards the ground. That should take care of that issue. Another issue that you can see is with knee position. Sometimes you'll see the knees caving in, but really if you zoom in close, what we're really seeing is the heels coming off of the ramp. So the fix for that is to just make sure that as Chris is reaching the plate forward, he shifts his weight backwards so he's a bit more heel heavy on this move. That should eliminate anything going on funky with the knees. Once you've mastered the static hold, you're able to hit 3, 4, 5 sets, 5 breaths, and it's pretty easy. We can then increase the challenge by making it dynamic, and it works exactly like it did in the box squat. So same cues, eyes to the horizon, did the silent inhale, exhale and reach. Now it's going to be inhale down, continuing to reach. Exhale, come back up. Inhale, down, reach. Exhale, back up. And there you have it. That's how we can reduce low back arching, improve the rib flare during squatting, and make your squats more comfortable. But it could be that you still have a difficult time with those more advanced moves, and you might need exercises to improve the rib flare that are a little bit more localized. For that, I would check out this video right here, where I go in depth into how to address the rib flare specifically.